What if I told you that 2025 was the year that everything changed in real estate? What would happen if after all of this time of waiting and strategically trying to time the market on the sideline, thinking that there was these cues that you thought you could follow? What if I told you that that was all BS and that there was a brand new deck that was going to be played on for 2025 in San Diego real estate?
I'd buy that.
That's right, gang. So, by the way, welcome back. Happy New Year. I just hit my mic. That's not. I mean, hey, that's how it goes.
It is.
It's a live show.
It's a new year.
It's
Some
a new year.
Things are going to be different.
Normally, we fire this off San Diego. Thanks for hanging out, by the way. Your boy Jesse Ibanez.
Yeah. Hey, Jeremy Beck.
Jeremy Beck, Greenhouse Group. Normally, we kick this off going back, looking at some numbers empirically, trying to kind of, wrestle them down Roman Greco style to try to figure out and, protract out and prognosticate where this all head. The truth is the numbers of last quarter are going to be gobbledygook, right, from a quantitative perspective. Because what was it? It was post-election, okay? It was like economy, changing of the guard, not really rates all over the place. Overnight Fed funds rate going down, mortgage rates going up, right? And then all of that leading to the scoreboard of 2024 being the lowest transactional count since they've been tracked. I think it was since 95 or something, right? You weren't even alive in 95.
90s were the greatest.
You were in puberty in 95.
Not quite.
Well, weren't you in puberty till 30s?
That's good.
Nothing? Okay.
Yeah.
So what does that all mean now? Okay, I'm willing to, here in the next couple minutes, just being willing, hey, let's throw that all out and let's start afresh. We need like a big plunger button, and it's got like a...
Yeah, you can do it. Do it. And that's the signal for everything to change.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
no, I agree with you. And I think one thing that we've seen is that, at least from the rate perspective, it feels like everything's been kind of waiting, right? Rates went up, people waiting for them to come down, waiting for a Fed cut, didn't make a difference, waiting for something to change. And so I think what we feel is this kind of this cliffhanger of like a roller coaster almost, where you're getting to the top and like, what's going to happen? And that's really the biggest important task right now in front of every buyer, seller, whatever, borrower is, what do you think is going to happen and how can you pair that with your plan?
What's the cue going to be for 25?
When are you going to be able to make that decision?
That's right, because the cue, let's be honest, man, defer to your half of the table on this on the mortgage side. The cue for as long as we can remember and been doing these videos has been what?
Yeah, rates. Where are rates going to go?
The rates, right? And so that's so sort of diametrically opposed to the if we bought one of those stock programs where it's like red arrow, green arrow, gotcha all day long. That's how you live in that. But when it comes to real estate, it's like that's a long-term debt, and it's the one we live in. Right? And it's more centered on like, hey, did I move into the area or did I not? Like, you can't time that, really.
And
right?
this is perfectly exemplified by our clients that have bought over the last couple of years. I have not had one of them call me and say, damn, right? Should have done that. Every check-in call, they're like, thank God I did that when I could. Even though rates are still high, hoping to refinance in the future, but like, thank God we got a piece of that.
Well, and that's the respite of San Diego, right? That's a whole nother podcast right there. Because if you look across the rest of the country, a lot of the favorite places that a lot of people ended up moving to got their heads kicked in,
right?
Appreciation-wise. Right. Meanwhile, San Diego still chugging along.
Just hanging. Still
chugging along, right? So when the best time to plant a tree, got it. We've already made that point several times. But that cue thing, right? It's like, what cue are you going to watch for in 25? If you continue to postpone life, and again, back to this trope, right, of like real estate being tied to bigger sort of decision-making matrices, right? Like, I had a kid, I'm out of space. I'm sick and tired of my neighbor. I got a cool raise. I don't want to be in this condo anymore. I'm sick of the commute, right? There's things that usually archetypically live in the primary decision making, and then kind of the timing part ends up being secondary.
Right.
That thing's been flipped and inverted for a long time.
Yep.
A lot of people have been postponing their sort of taking advantage and and harvesting of these life events, trying to say, hey, I'd love to time the market. I get it. Everybody would love to time the market.
Sure.
But usually it's not timing the market. It's, as Jeremy said a second ago, it's time in market.
Yeah.
Right? So the question is, what's the new cue for 25 then?
Right. And that's obviously going to be different for each person. So
Fair.
one of the funnest things I think we get to do with our clients is in the initial consultation, I call mine mortgage planning consultation, we're talking about what's important to you and how best to achieve that goal. That's not going to be the same for everybody. So some cues are going to be rates, right? Those folks that have bought over the last couple of years, they're waiting to refinance. Yeah. They're like, call me when rates. That's a simple cue.
Yeah.
You talked a lot about lifestyle, a lot about the things that are important to you in your living environment. Those are not cues in the same way, right? And so what we're going to find is that each person is now saying, how important is this to me? And how can I measure that against my plan? And the plan is critical because if you have the plan, you don't have to open up the browser every day and check rates. Like that's not how you're going to make your decision. By the way, it's usually too late. Am I right?
Yeah.
If you open up the browser and they say rates dropped today, guess what? You're last to know.
Or on the real estate side, the equivocal example of that is, I'd like to buy, but I'm hanging out and I'm watching, Seinfeld reruns or whatever, and all of a sudden, oh crap, the house that I love just popped up on the market, right? And that's the classic haste making the way. So maybe if I can answer my own question, the cue just might be this. It might be, I'm going to hack this out loud live right now. Maybe step one is deciding whether or not, like making the decision that you're going to be either the buyer or the seller this year, whatever side of the can, or both for some folks, right? Making that decision and then saying, okay, just by the fact that I made the decision, no harm, no foul, no cost to that, right? You didn't put your 30-day in yet because you made the decision. But what might be true is that you scoot up the process of planning, to your point, to say, what steps do I have to take in order to be absolutely deftly, securely ready? So that if I am trying to time it, right, and God willing, I hit the needle through the thread of the star of the whatever, that when I do decide to find the right home and it pops up on my deal, that I do have a nice rate and it all works out masterfully. Well, guess what? If you waited for that cue to happen, there's no way you're going to be able to reverse engineer that fast enough. So you have to be ready. And that brings up another point, too, about timing. Right. So now, again, hijacking the comment from the real estate side. What seems to be true in the first month now of 25 is that, and I'll just speak for the Greenhouse Group, we have more listings hitting the market this month than any other time that we've ever been in business.
It's crazy.
So, and we're in our third decade now of doing this. So if that's true for us, of course it's true for probably a lot of the other brokers. We didn't leave the house with magic underwear like yesterday, right?
You didn't.
Or did I? So if that's true, then that means that there's probably going to be a nice little spike of inventory, right? So, okay, let's go back and let's take a peek into some of the empirical data points coming out of the fourth quarter of last year. Time on market, days on market, up 60%, I think it is, right? Price reductions, up. Overall transactions, I already said, way down. So what does that mean? Well, that might mean that finally we start moving more towards this sort of equanimous buoyancy of the market where there are more options, supply, demand, to where this could be shifting to more or balanced market. It's been seller-sided forever, right? So if that's true, then you're like, okay, cool. So that's a great thing for a buyer. Might be true. For a seller, you might be like, well, crap, I want to take my normal decision-making matrix of waiting until spring or summer to get hot. And maybe I want to throw that up a little bit just so that I am on the front end of that being true and there's not as much inventory to compete with. That could be a hypothesis. But from a buyer's perspective, you might hear that and go, okay, cool, well, then I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till that thing buoys itself all the way out. Well, in San Diego, when has that ever played out as a good plan?
One time.
Really?
If you knew. When the market crashed.
Bandcamp? Normally what happens is that if you are trying to wait, you're trying to time it, and then the flood of the flood of demand ends up spiking above whatever inventory occurred, and you go overnight, and we've watched this several times in recent markets. Overnight, you go from nobody wants anything, price reductions, time on market, all of a sudden to lines down the street on the open house and multiple offers overnight.
Happens fast. And, I love, just want to pick on one point right there, is that it almost can feel like, if you're not listening to the details, it can almost feel like we're saying, hey, you got to buy, or you got to sell, or whatever. Like there's this energy.
Are you in sales?
No, I'm in consulting.
How dare you?
So it sounds like that, but what I think Jesse may be trying to say, and I certainly am, is that if this is something that's already on your radar, start planning now.
Yeah.
Like not you should do this no matter what, but if you think you might be doing this, don't make the mistake of feeling like the thunderbolt of lightning. Thunderbolt of lightning? Is that even a thing?
It's a double-double.
Is going to strike, and all of a sudden you'll know this is what I need to be doing.
Right.
That's not how it works. How it
Not
works
best.
is that it happens fast.
Right.
And these turns in the market are quick. So if you are thinking about this, the idea is to get with someone that you trust, put a plan in place, and make sure that you're ready, and there's no harm, no foul there. No cost.
No, there is no cost.
In fact, you might even be able to sleep a little bit better because you know you got that taken care of and you're ready.
At the very least, absolute worst case scenario, you were fully prepared and you decided to do nothing.
Right.
And all you were out was the knowledge of where you belong and stand inside the marketplace.
And with a clear plan in
With
hand.
a clear plan, I could think of less things that suck than that.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that might have been more. You know what I meant. So first assemble your team, right? Your team's got to at least be, I got the lender that's going to go to war with me and battle through the ugly, with a dull weapon and a big shield alongside me. I got the agent that's doing the same thing. I'm educating myself on not just the market, but my market, right? So most people have an idea, hey, I'd love to hit this zip code. I want to get out of here. I want to keep into here, the school system, whatever, and then start to infiltrate down with time, energy, and attention what that actually looks like, so that if you do arrive at this is the year and you're going to do it, it's with prudence, cadence, wisdom versus happenstance.
Which is going to save money, energy, endless amounts of time. And we see over and over and over the difference between the client that calls and says, I found a house, what do I do? Versus the one who got prepared and then found the house when they're ready. You could segment my database into two forms of clients, and that's the two. And always, I can tell you that the comfort level, the outcome, all of that is always better if it's just the plan, the slow grade, the systematic behavior. That's the one that wins every time.
And if you're a seller, same game, right? So you might be like, okay, well, what does that look like? No seller in their right mind ever wakes up on a Saturday, raises their hand, and there's a sign in the yard by Sunday, right? There's a roll up, if you want it to go well, I should say. There's a roll into that, right? There's like hey, I've always wanted to clean up my landscaping. Looks terrible right now. There's some paint I need to throw on the walls. That one appliance is on the fritz. I need all the things, right? The things that if you do that, that's not hurting you. Right? Worst case scenario, you fix the things and your place looks nice and you kick the can down the road. So that's not a cost. And then the other thing, which is kind of cool, and maybe you call it a zeitgeist of this market in this moment right now, is a lot of sellers that we're working with right now, they're concerned and frustrated to the point of worry, and then that usually breeds indecision of, okay, well, where the heck am I going to go? Right? Now, if you're moving out of the state, sometimes that's a little bit easier of a respite because we make some pretty good money here in California. Usually end up with a pretty nice big check, comparative to other markets. And that feels good, right? That feels like you could pull that off with little waste and little demand to bump up against. But if you're staying inside San Diego County or California, it's like out of the pot and into the flame, right? So there are these programs, they've been referred to kind of as bridge loans in the past, but basically what they enable you to do is optimize that sell then buy, which is horribly stressful and threading the needle of the needle of the needle, and flipping that to talk to a lender who has a program who's enabled to take all the money that you did make over the last couple years, the harvested equity, build that to give you a pre-approval so you can go out and purchase the next home non-contingent. And everybody knows if you're in the game what that means. It means that no matter what, even if you tried to pay more, you're going to go to the bottom of the stack of the offer pile if you're trying to offer a seller a contingent offer, right? Too competitive for that, even with all the market inventory data that we were just talking about in buyer's favor. So you can go out there, find the house that you want in your own cadence, pace, and rhythm, compete for it without overpaying for it, buy it, move in, completely take your family with no stress, or as little stress as possible, right? Then your home becomes vacant. And then you can spend 45, I think even 90 days in some of those programs to get your home. I'm not saying you're going to use all that, but plenty of time to get your home all ready and prepared and then sell it after the fact and only have to move once. How cool is that?
Right. And besides the convenience, we've talked about this a little before, there's money to be saved on both ends of this. So from a real estate perspective, if you're selling without having to wait to buy, you've got a little bit more leverage on there. You might get a little bit more dollar. If you're buying without having to wait to sell, then you're going to get a little bit more dollar over here. These benefits, these wins on both sides can actually compensate for any carrying costs or any additional expenses that these types of loans have. It's not just the convenience, it's also money. And I think that's important to remember.
And it's not just the convenience, it's also money, but also most importantly, it's giving you a fighting chance to actually compete for the house that you want. Right. And I mean, we could just do a full stop just on that alone, because you could do all the other things perfectly. But if you walk in limping with one arm tied behind your back and a contingent offer, there's no way a seller's going to take you seriously.
Right. Are you saying that you've represented buyers who had too much, they were bringing to the table too much baggage and the seller didn't want to deal with it?
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Right. Because again, we have a great market of
Not
demand.
A lot of inventory.
There's usually at least one or two people that are vying for the property, and therein lies the challenge. So for 25, gang, what I love is full reset, right? Hit the big button, full reset in the front. I don't think that was the button I was going for.
That's why I'm not at the captain's chair.
Full reset. I think we've got a brand new lease on the market this year. And even if the rates aren't going to come out like the cavalry and bail us all out like they've done in the past, dropping them down into some unrealistic number or whatever, even if they still stay around that moody range of 6s and 7s or wherever they're at right now, there's still massive opportunities to win on either end right now. And I think 25 is going to end up yielding out.
Yeah. So lesson learned, get a plan, have a conversation, and be ready for when you're ready.
Yeah. Lesson learned. You know what they say?
Oh, here it goes.
Knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing that that doesn't belong in a fruit salad.